Clint Eastwood. You ever meet someone who seems to have lived a dozen lifetimes? That's the vibe with Clint Eastwood, a man who quietly turned grit into gold and then turned that gold into something that mattered. He's spent roughly 7 decades in the business, carving out a career people still talk about. And along the way, he picked up multiple Academy Awards for his work. Picture this: a kid who grew up during the Depression, toughened by hard times, who didn't follow a safe path, he made his own. That determination shows up in every role, every film he directed, and every decision he made off-screen. He wasn't chasing trends. He built his career the old-fashioned way: long hours, quiet discipline, and a refusal to compromise the kind of stories he wanted to tell. Money? Sure, he made a lot of it. But the headline figure doesn't tell the whole story. Most outlets peg his fortune in the high hundreds of millions, with reliable estimates around the mid to high $300 millions, depending on who you ask. What that means in plain English: he's wealthy enough to walk away from nonsense and keep making the films he believes in. He also invested that money in things that fit his values. He rescued and restored Mission Ranch in Carmel, turning a historic property into a place that feels like a love letter to a simpler time. He didn't flip it for a profit, he preserved it. And he drove a vision for a private, nature-first community called Tehama, a project that mixes conservation with careful development and even a private golf experience tied to the land. These aren't flashy vanity buys, they're extensions of how he lives and what he cares about. So, why would a fortune make a family cry? People often picture money as the end game, but in stories like this, the tears are layered: relief, pride, maybe even a little awe. The cash provides security, sure, but the bigger gift is freedom. The freedom to protect the places he loved, to pass down a legacy of independence, and to show that success can mean doing things on your own terms. That kind of example? Priceless. Families don't just grieve wallets. They honor the values and stories those wallets represent. And here's the part that sticks. Eastwood's real flex wasn't the bank account, it was creative autonomy. He kept making tough, old-school movies when studios wanted safe bets. He directed, produced, sometimes scored, and often refused to let Hollywood's loudest voices steer his projects. That stubborn streak of independence made him dangerous in the best way. A filmmaker who worked by his own rules and left behind films people still, quote, study and argue about. If you take one thing away, let it be this: legacies aren't built on dollars alone. They're built on choices, the ones you make when no one's watching, the ones you make to protect a piece of land, a town, or a style of cinema. Clint Eastwood left money, but more importantly, he left a map. How to live with backbone, and how to use success to preserve what matters. Like this deep dive? Hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that dig past the headlines, and tell me below, what would you preserve if you had that kind of freedom?